Welcome to another episode of the Valero Verdict Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, I'm going to be continuing on with my Women Appreciation Month series. Throughout the month of December, I will be sharing interviews with women in different walks of life. Today, I have a special guest. She's an actress. She's also a fellow member of the Rizzle platform, Francesca DiPaola. We talked about her Home for Veterans charity organization. We talked about her acting, and we talked about her career as a collective whole. I hope you enjoy this interview. Today, I'm interviewing actress and a good friend of mine, Francesca DiPaola. How are you today?
I'm doing amazing. How are you?
I'm doing good. First off, I want to thank you for taking the time to do this interview with me and being a part of my Women Appreciation Month series for the month of December.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. This is very cool.
So my first question is an easy one. Who is Francesca? Where were you born, raised, and stuff like that?
So I'm from Jersey. A Jersey Italian. Like, I'm very stereotypical. If you ever watched Jersey Shore, like, that was my family, literally. So stereotype is very true. And then I moved to the city. I studied acting at Marymount. So I do love acting. And then as I got older and I kind of found my way through acting, I still do a lot of acting stuff whenever I can, but I really got more into hosting stuff. So I was doing a lot of I did a backstage thing at New York Fashion Week. I had a show called Crazy Cab Stories that I really liked. I was interviewing cab drivers and people on the street about issues with Uber when Uber came out, because I'm old and I don't know if you remember when Uber came out. So that was kind of fun. I was I think I really like hosting stuff. And so, yeah, I was doing that for a while. And now I have a charity for veterans called Homes for Veterans. So I've been doing that during the pandemic because I got furloughed from my regular job. I have a regular survival job, and I really love doing that. And then meanwhile, while I was doing the charity thing this summer, I kind of discovered Rizzle, and I combined that with my hosting stuff, and I kind of started my own show called Free Think on Rizzle, and there was just so much going on. I didn't want the show to be super specific on one kind of topic. I just wanted it to be all social topics because I thought that would be interesting. I mean, anybody can do politics or social issues. So I do all kinds of stuff, really interesting topics, controversial, fun topics.
For sure.
So yeah, and that's how we met.
So the first question, or the next question I have for you then is in some of your videos, you're kind of outspoken about certain issues, which is fine. I feel like obviously freedom of speech, but what kind of makes you go down that path? And I do notice it doesn't matter what side, which is, you're just a matter of fact. And what kind of made you want to dive kind of into the controversial side of things?
Well, I think the keyword there is fact. I get real frustrated when I see things and it's not based in fact and data. So I try to base things in as much fact and as many facts as I can find. And I pull up a lot of websites and I really try to use data that I can find online. And I try to be as fair as possible. You can look up anything that I'm talking about and you can find where I found it. So a lot of things that I'm saying, I really don't put my opinion in that much. Once in a while, I might throw my opinion in at the end, but I really, really try to keep it in fact, because so much stuff online now is just hearsay. Somebody will say something, it will be a complete lie, and then the internet will back up the lie based on their view. And that was really frustrating. So Twitter, for example, will back up a lie. And then there's so many things getting retracted. And then the retracted statement won't get any media attention. So that was so frustrating to me. So I feel like Rizzle's perfect. It's 1 minute. I could put all of the data in there. I can get the point across. I could throw up a bunch of titles and information, and that's people have short attention spans. They're not going to go and make sure that this is true. They're not going to read the whole article. If somebody retracts a statement, they're not going to go see if this was changed a month later. So I'm trying to be really fair.
It makes sense for me. One of the biggest problems I have nowadays is when people get their news from social media, right? You know what I mean? You'll hear something, you'll be around people did you see this? I'm yes, but did you read the article? Like
Right.
the headline's everything. And I understand that's part of journalism, right? Journalism is
Right.
to have that catchy, crazy headline so people can click the article. But sometimes in this day, people, like you said, short attention span, they see the tweet. Oh man, that's crazy. Send a text message and then scroll to the next tweet. Like they don't even really look into the article. So
Yeah.
social media is very deceiving as is, right? You know what I mean? And we have a
Yes.
problem with people wanting to do their research. I understand that. But you said something to me off the air that made a lot of sense. It's okay not to have an opinion, right?
Yes.
For me, like that's one thing that I think a lot of individuals have kind of gotten away from. Like I was raised where in a family where you were taught to vote, and if you don't vote, you can't complain, right? You know what I mean? So it's like
Right.
that's my first question whenever I have a conversation with somebody. It's like, hey, all right, I'll talk politics with you or whatever and stuff like that. It's fine, but did you vote? And if they
Hmm.
say no, I'm like, conversation's over. You know what I mean? And I understand the old adage, my vote doesn't matter. It's only one vote. And that's like, I don't believe that. You know what I mean? Like
No.
our
Right.
voice matters, but how we use our voice is something that is important, right?
Yeah, and I think, social media plays a huge role in this, right? So we all have a phone now, and we all think that we are the greatest person. Everybody's really narcissistic now. Everyone thinks their opinion is the greatest opinion in the world, and everyone thinks they have to say something. And that can become dangerous because it's like, just because you have a platform doesn't mean you should just use it willy-nilly. You don't have to have an opinion on every single thing that happens, and no one should be telling you that. So if you really love animals and that's your thing, like, you can stick to animals. You don't have to have an opinion on Black Lives Matter. And that's what I was saying to you, prior to the recording. The phrase white silence is violence is dangerous, because if you're a 12-year-old, you have no idea about anything about life yet. Okay, you have never worked, you have never paid taxes, you've never been in a job environment. Like, you might have never even like come into contact with a Black person. Like, if you live in a community that's mostly white people, like, let's be real. I know, like, that's a controversial statement, but it could be true. So white silence is violence. That's like a crazy thing that's going on right now. And that's just, it's forcing people to do something that they might be uncomfortable with, and then then all these riots are happening, right? Like, do we see the
Right.
results? So it's dangerous. Like, you don't have to have an opinion on every single thing. You don't have to have an opinion on the election. Like, you don't have to have an opinion on religion if you weren't raised religious. Like,
Right.
it's crazy. Like, just because you're on social media and other people having an opinion, like, if you love fashion, you could just do fashion, and no one should tell you, like, well, you need to use your platform. Like, you might be viral on TikTok for fashion. So you don't have to have an opinion on Black Lives Matter just because you're a fashion person. Like, no, don't let anyone tell you what to do, including me. Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, whenever I always have a problem with religion and politics. Obviously, that's the big one, right? You know what I mean? Everybody has to force upon their opinion about these
right.
things to you. I, I think you believe whatever you want to believe, but we should have civil conversations about it, right? It's all about the willingness to learn, and not anybody's willing to learn. People are just listening to talk, and that's the biggest problem. There's one thing you touched on a little bit, but I would love to know more about it. This Homes for Veteran thing. Explain the idea behind it, the thought process, what it does, and stuff like that for us.
So my dad founded the charity almost 10 years ago. And basically the VA, the VA is what the veterans use to get their like benefits and stuff like that. If you don't know what the VA does. And the VA is great. So they do a lot. They do what they can, but they can't do everything. So we kind of fill in the cracks for the VA. If a veteran is having trouble getting a ramp, if they have trouble getting a roll-in shower, anything that creates a barrier-free environment for disabled veterans, we can go in and fund that project. And it really makes a big difference in the lives of these men and women who served, for our freedom. And I I can't tell you like these little things that you take for granted, you know, just like being able to shower and not worry about falling down, like stepping into your tub to shower. A lot of these men and women, they can't even step into their shower. So we'll take the tub out and we'll do the roll-in shower, and it's a big, huge impact.
I love that. I said this to you when we were talking about it off the air. I said that we don't do enough for our veterans. I don't believe that we do. No president has, they can have raised the stakes for them. But for me, I'll never understand why we have veterans that are homeless, right? That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not saying some of them might not have made the correct choices after they got back, but they're not exactly taught how to make the correct choices whenever they do come back. You know what I mean? Like simple living life. I feel the same way about our school system right now. I feel like our school system's so broken about teaching our kids how to balance a checkbook, how to live life, getting jobs, filling out job applications during school. You know what I mean? Stuff like that is they're not
Yeah.
taught. And I feel the same way about our veterans. They come back and it's just like, all right, you're back.
Yeah.
And
A lot of times veterans will not ask for help. So that's a big thing. Like
sure.
There's a lot of things, and I'm not a veteran. I'm still learning a lot, and I want to be an advocate for veterans. And I've been saying this. So, if I can advocate, I want to just say that right now, whoever's watching, if I can be an advocate in any way, shape, or form, like, please let me know. Like, I'm trying to get involved as much as I can, separate from the charity, number one. But number two, veterans usually don't ask for help. So, like, they have their own little communities where they kind of know each other and work together. And that's huge. So they, like, kind of work together. But if you see military or any kind of way that you can reach out and offer help, that's like the best thing you can do for our military, because they're such independent guys. You know, they like been at war, they're like in combat, and they're like, I don't need help. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
A lot of times that they won't ask. And especially women, I learned so much about veterans. I had no idea. So there's PTSD, which we all know, you know, it's common PTSD, but women deal with MST, which is military sexual trauma. And not only do they have PTSD, but a lot of them have MST. And so that's crazy to me. And I just, like, I literally can cry talking about it, because they sign up to go fight for our freedom. They're not drafted. Like back in the day, the guys, first of all, they were drafted, which was crazy. But like these women, they go, they sign up, they're standing between us and danger. The only reason that me and you can have this conversation right now safely is because they're out there fighting for us. Thank God I don't have to be there, right? Because we would be so screwed. So I'm so grateful. And then they have to come back. They have all this trauma, PTSD, MST. All we can do is like ask what they need. And the simplest thing, like they just need like the tiniest little thing, and they're so grateful. And I'm like, oh my God, please, I will literally, that is nothing. So always offer if you want, like, you know, if you're looking for some way to help, oh my God, just offer, because they're not gonna ask.
Absolutely.
Sorry, that was like a rant.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So I got a couple quick fire questions here for you before we go. These are some fun ones, some interesting ones, but my first one to you is, describe Francesca in one word.
Chaotic.
Something you've learned throughout this quarantine.
Can it be more than one word?
Yeah, this one's more than one word now.
I'm like, I don't
No.
Oh my God. Appreciate, don't take anything for granted, and also live every single day. I know it's so cliche, but live every single day like it's the absolute last day, and take that literally.
I like that. Last question for you. This is a fun one. What is your favorite Taylor Swift song?
Mean.
I like it. Where can everybody find you on social media?
All of my things are the same, Francesca DiPaola, and I added an H in there. So it's CHESCA DiPaola. That's my Instagram, that's my Twitter, and that's my Facebook. And but my Rizzle is actually different. So my Rizzle is at my favorite commentator.
Yeah, I love that. Whenever I saw, I was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, how do I find? Oh, there she
Yeah.
is. My favorite content.
My favorite commentator is my Rizzle, and that's the one you want to follow.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time today.